Hi guys, and welcome to this new episode of The Inexplicable. And what if I told you that everything you believe is real is just part of an illusion? A trick of our mind? Today I want to challenge your core beliefs. They will lead a journey through the most hidden folds of the perception of time and consciousness, discovering 5 shocking revelations capable of opening unexpected cracks in the reality you thought you knew. Concepts capable of challenging everything you thought you knew and making you look at the world with new eyes. Wide open to mysteries, in many cases they defy all logic. So here are 5 shocking revelations that will turn your reality upside down. Nothing happens in real time. Have you ever looked up at the starry sky and thought, at this very moment, I'm observing the universe exactly as it is right now? If your answer is yes, get ready to change your mind, because the truth is unsettling, fascinating, and deeply destabilizing. Nothing, and I really mean nothing, happens in real time. Everything we perceive, every image that reaches our eyes, every sound that reaches our ears, every sensation we believe is happening now is actually just a trace, a reflection, an echo of the past. The reason lies in a fundamental law of the universe. The speed of light is the same for everyone, everywhere, but it is not infinite. Light is fast, of course, about 300,000 kilometers per second, but not fast enough to give us an absolute present. Let me explain better. Let's use the sun as an example. We are captivated by a beautiful sunrise or by a fiery sunset that appears etched on the horizon. That golden light that caresses our face began its journey more than 8 minutes earlier. The sun we see is not where it appears to be, and it's not even when it appears to be. It has already changed. It's already somewhere else. What we see is a delayed message, a luminous photograph coming from a past that no longer exists. If you think this only applies to distant celestial objects, think again. It applies to everything. Even the moon, which appears so close and familiar to us in the night sky, sends us its light with a slight delay, about 1.29 seconds. That silvery glow that lights up our nights is not the present. It's already in the past. It has already happened. And now let's go further, much further. When astronomers point their telescopes toward galaxies that are millions or even billions of light years away, they are not observing how they are now, but how they were millions or billions of years ago. Some of those stars may have already gone out long ago, swallowed into nothingness or exploded as silent supernovae. And yet we still see their light because only now is it reaching Earth, a cosmic journey as long as it is mysterious. Looking at the sky is like browsing a photo album of the universe's past. The farther we see, the further back in time we go. Every star is a window through time. Every galaxy is a frozen fragment of cosmic history. It's as if the entire universe were a gigantic time machine, but a machine that travels in only one direction, toward our past. So the next time you watch the sun set on the horizon, remember that sunset is already over. You're just receiving the visual notification of its end. A small delay is enough to reveal how we're always behind reality. Unaware spectators of a cosmic show broadcast on delay. Reflecting on this truth, it's not so strange to suggest the present, as we know it, might not exist at all. Your brain constantly lies to you. What I'm about to reveal to you could forever revolutionize the way you perceive yourself and the world around you. What we see, touch, and hear might not be real at all, or at least not in the way we are convinced it is. The reality we perceive is an illusion created by our brain, so convincing it feels entirely real and tangible. You think it's nonsense? Well, listen carefully. A scientific experiment conducted by Patrick Hagar from the University of London in 2002 revealed something incredible about how our mind works. In this study, a group of volunteers was asked to press a button on command. Every time they did it, a light would turn on, but not instantly. There was a brief, imperceptible delay between the action and the light's response. Nothing unusual so far, but here's the amazing part. After several repetitions, the participants began to perceive the light even before it actually turned on. Did you understand that? Their brains began to anticipate the event, tricking the mind into believing that the light appeared before it actually turned on. But how is that possible? Well, because the brain, once it has learned and recognized a cause and effect pattern, rewrites reality to make it match its expectations. It's as if it's trying to predict the future, and to do that, it alters the perception of the present, creating a kind of illusion that's so realistic, it goes completely unnoticed. If it seems hard to imagine, try this little experiment. While you repeatedly touch your nose, start tapping your feet on the floor, even though your nose is much closer to your brain than your feet. The signals. Both stimuli reach your consciousness at the same moment, as if they happened simultaneously. Even though in reality the transmission of nerve impulses from your nose is much faster than from your feet. The brain doesn't process reality in real time. It first has to gather, process, synchronize, and sometimes even correct all the information it receives, the senses. It does this so skillfully that everything feels natural and synchronized to you. But what is the most shocking consequence of all this? Well, biologically speaking, you live in the past. Every perception you have is actually delayed by about 80 milliseconds, more or less the time it takes you to blink. It's a brief moment, barely noticeable, yet enough to make you experience a reality slightly marked by time. And if you think that's already creepy enough, wait until you hear this other thing. Your brain doesn't just live in the past, but it also lives in the future, at least to the extent that it builds your experience of the present, largely based on what it expects is about to happen. It's a predictive machine that tries to anticipate events and situations, and based on these predictions, it shapes your perception. In other words, the reality we perceive every day might be nothing more than a prediction, a controlled hallucination crafted by a complex internal system. We, in our mind and body, are trapped in a sort of internal simulation that we can never directly observe for what it truly is. So the next time you think you see or hear something, remember that behind that sensation, there's a very subtle but extremely powerful deception. A deception that your brain carries out at every moment of your life, drawing a reality that most likely doesn't correspond 100% to the real one. Past, present, and future all occur at once. Close your eyes for a moment and try to imagine your life as a straight line, simple and clean. From birth through childhood, adolescence, adulthood, all the way to old age, and finally to death. A seemingly inevitable path marked by precise and orderly stages, a sequence in time that flows without pauses or reversals. Like a river that follows a single direction, from the past toward the future. This is how we have been taught to perceive time, a continuous, unstoppable flow that moves forward without ever going back. A simple and reassuring concept that allows us to make sense of our lives. But hold on. And what if that's just an illusion, a mental construct, a convention dictated by our limited perception? According to some of the most fascinating theories in modern physics, time is not at all linear as we imagine it. In fact, from the universe's point of view, past, present, and future are not separated by clear boundaries or by a mandatory sequence. All your moments, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, exist at once, just like the pages of a book that is already written and complete, which all exist together at the same time, even if we can only read them one at a time. It seemed absurd to you. I'll explain more. The fundamental laws of physics, especially those that govern quantum mechanics and relativity, show no preference for time. There is no universal before or after, no mandatory direction of time as we understand it. If we move from our earthly and biological point of view to cosmic or subatomic scales, the very concept of time begins to lose its meaning. Outside our planet, in the absence of the biological and physical conditions we know, there is no up or down, nor forward or backward in time. The universe seems suspended in an endless present with no beginning or end. So why do we humans perceive time as something rigid, a straight line that flows irrevocably and from which we cannot go back? The answer is intriguing yet somewhat unsettling, since we are biological beings made of molecules and atoms that obey exact thermodynamic laws. In particular, our perception of time is linked to the principle of entropy, that natural process that leads every closed system from order to disorder, from chaos to irregularity. In other words, the arrow of time that we perceive is not a fundamental property of the universe, but an emergent effect of our physical structure and the way our senses and our mind interpret reality. This means, surprisingly, that on a cosmic level, or perhaps on some plane of existence still unknown, you are being born, living, and dying, all in our instant. Every single moment of your life is not simply something that belongs to the past or the future, but still exists, somewhere and somehow. Every decision you make, every choice you take, every possible outcome of your actions could coexist like infinite windows opened onto just as many alternative scenarios, all real, even if invisible to our usual perception. We still can't time travel like in science fiction, but if time itself is a mental construct, an illusion generated by our consciousness, then the question that naturally arises is much deeper. Who are we really? If everything we have been, are, and will be already exists simultaneously in a single timeless reality. Everything you see is almost non-existent. Try a simple experiment. Look carefully at everything around you at this very moment. The object you're sitting on, chair, sofa, or bed, whether it's the phone held tightly in your hands or the computer screen, the walls that define the space you're in seem solid, tangible, absolutely real, right? But what if I told you that, in reality, you're the victim of an illusion? That what you perceive as solid matter is mostly empty space? It seems absurd, but that's reality. Every single object, every person, every element we can touch or see is made up of atoms. Atoms are the universe's fundamental building blocks, but they're not solid or full as we might think. On the contrary, they are mostly made up of empty space. If you stop to observe an atom, you would find that over 99.9999% of its volume is simply nothing. This means that what we consider matter is mostly made up of empty space. Imagine replacing an armchair with an atomic model. Its nucleus, the heart of the atom, would be incredibly small compared to the entire space occupied by the electrons orbiting around it. To give you a clearer idea, think of a soccer field representing the entire atom. Now imagine a small fly buzzing right in the center of that field. That fly would be the nucleus of the atom, while the rest of the field would be empty, almost devoid of substance. It's a gigantic space compared to the central point, but it's right there, in that seemingly invisible void, that the incredible dance of subatomic particles takes place. Electrons, protons, and neutrons are constantly interacting, giving rise to all the matter we see around us. That's why matter isn't as solid as it appears to our eyes or as we feel it to the touch. That sensation of solidity is the result of electromagnetic forces between atoms, which repel other atoms when we try to touch them. But in reality, the body of objects is almost entirely made up of empty space. If we wanted to eliminate all this empty space inside atoms, we could compress the entire world population, all 7 billion human beings, into a cube the size of a sugar cube. An incredible thought, almost science fiction, but completely real, proven by nuclear physics experiments. Proof shows the visible universe's mass is tightly concentrated, and what seems solid is mostly empty space. It only seems full because particle forces make us perceive it that way. This awareness radically changes the way we have to look at the world around us and ultimately ourselves. Reality isn't made of solid, unchanging matter, but of empty spaces, energies, and subtle interactions that create the illusion of solidity. So the next time you touch something or look at yourself in the mirror, remember, you're observing a universe made mostly of nothing, an emptiness full of mysteries that pushes us to review and question everything we take for granted about reality. Your memories are probably false. Imagine this. You're replaying one of the most meaningful moments of your life in your mind. Maybe it's your wedding day or your child's first smile or that evening. Unforgettable with your closest friends. You can clearly see the faces around you, hear the words that were spoken, notice the colors of the clothes, the soft light in the room, the background music that seemed perfect. Every single detail appears vivid, sharp, as if you were there at that very moment, with every image etched in your mind, like the frame of a perfectly shot and edited movie. And now imagine that all of this, just as you remember it, might not be real at all, or to put it better, it might not be accurate at all. According to a surprising study published in the Journal of Neuroscience, every time you recall a memory, you're actually modifying it. You're rewriting it. That's right. You're not just pulling up an image from the past, but you're actively reconstructing that moment. And you do it every single time that memory resurfaces. The brain, that marvelous yet deceptive archivist of our existence, doesn't preserve an exact photograph of the past. In fact, every time we open the drawer of memories, it reworks its contents, adapts them, and puts them back into our memory, with a few small variations. Basically, we never remember the original event itself, but rather the last version we recalled and reworked of it. It's like an echo that repeats endlessly, an echo of an echo of an echo that over time loses definition, fades, changes its colors and shapes. It's like making a photocopy of a photocopy. The image worsens with each copy. Details are lost, extra information is added, and the original reality is replaced by an alternative version, a constructed false reality. But, and this is the most unsettling part, incredibly convincing. This discovery makes us question everything we knew about our past. The most intense memories, the ones we consider most sacred and unforgettable. The birth of a child, a long-awaited promotion, a trauma that marked our life. Paradoxically, these are most vulnerable to distortion, because these are exactly the memories we recall most often, the ones we revisit and talk about more frequently, and so we constantly modify them. It's no coincidence, then, that nowadays eyewitness testimonies are considered much less reliable evidence in trials than they used to be in the past. Not because people lie or want to deceive, but because their brains, in good faith, unknowingly modify those memories, sometimes adding incorrect details or forgetting others. It's a natural phenomenon, a characteristic inherent in the very nature of human memory. Now stop for a moment, close your eyes and think back to that childhood friend, to that unforgettable vacation, to that frightening accident, to that love that changed your life, to that special day you keep in your heart, what you're reliving in your mind, that mental movie. How much did it actually happen? How much is merely a memory of a memory, a changed echo over time? The problem is that in the absence of tangible proof, like a photograph or a video that can confirm it, you can never know for sure. Free will is an illusion. Have you ever stopped to think about all the decisions you've made in your life? Those choices that led you to moments of joy, as well as those that made you fall into doubt or regret. You know, those inexplicable, almost absurd decisions that still make you ask yourself today, why on earth did I make that choice? Maybe you told yourself, okay, I've learned my lesson, next time I'll do better, I'll pay more attention. But what if I told you that in reality, you never actually chose anything? This may sound provocative, even heretical, to those who strongly believe in their freedom of choice. Yet an increasing number of neuroscientists, philosophers, and biologists are questioning what has been considered a pillar of our existence for centuries. That is free will. For many of them, the sense of freedom we believe we have is nothing more than a convenient illusion created by the brain. Let's take a very simple example. The moment when, to buy an ice cream, you have to choose between pistachio or hazelnut. Or imagine a more complex intersection, like choosing between staying in a painful relationship or leaving everything to escape to Patagonia. At first, it may appear your will guides every step, like a pilot steering his ship. But beneath that freedom lies something more unsettling and mysterious. Your brain had already decided for you long before you were aware of it. Neuroscientific studies have shown that the neural signals associated with the decision are activated even 1,000 milliseconds before your consciousness becomes aware of it. It's not simply a reflex or an automatic response. It's as if your consciousness is just a delayed observer, an actor who joins the stage well after the show begins. You're not the director of your life, but more like a spectator watching, a performance where every move is pre-written. Every choice you think you make, from your clothes and food to the political party you support and the people you love. It's the complex result of a combination of biological, chemical, genetic factors, past experiences, and environmental influences. Your conscious self only comes in afterwards to justify and rationalize what has already been decided deep within your brain. If that's true, where does freedom stop? But be careful, this awareness is not an excuse to do anything without taking responsibility for your actions. You certainly can't commit a theft and stand before the judge saying, I'm not guilty, it's my neurons' fault. Society, law, morality, they are based on the assumption that we are free agents, responsible for our actions and their consequences. Justice, no matter how much it may evolve, is still not ready to recognize man as a mere biological puppet, moved by invisible and predetermined impulses. If free will doesn't truly exist, then ideas like guilt, merit, repentance, forgiveness, and redemption become fragile and uncertain. If we are not truly the masters of our choices, what does it really mean to be responsible? And above all, how much of what we call reality is truly real if even our mind is not free to choose? Ultimately, we live in a world where everything feels predetermined, and our conscious self is just the surface of a hidden mechanism making decisions for us. Perhaps the real challenge isn't understanding if we have free will, but accepting and living with it, finding a new sense of freedom within the limits that our biological nature imposes on us. Having said that, it's time to start the debate. Yes, because statements like these rarely leave people indifferent, and something tells me they will generate all kinds of opinions, many of which will be conflicting. If these revelations about time, our mind, and the world around us were 100% true, the implications would be colossal. These are theories that can really turn upside down everything we've always thought about our perception of the world and ourselves. But what do you think about these theories? Which one struck or impressed you the most? And which one can't you really accept? Let me know in a comment. The Spiegabili podcast is an original show by Luca Perella with sound design by Matteo D'Alessandro. If you like this episode, subscribe on YouTube or share it with friends. Greetings, and see you at the next episode of L'Inspiegabile.